"30 people gather at a small church on E Street in Idaho Falls. It's 10:30 on a Sunday morning. A variety of people are in attendance. One young mother is there with her newborn baby, and there's another young couple in the pew several rows ahead. But most of the people are middle-aged. It's a non-denominational service with progressive beliefs. Some members of the congregation believe in God, and some don't. Some are gay, and some are straight. But everyone is there for one purpose: to worship, in their own way and on their own terms."
We've often been referred to as a secular religion, in the sense that what we honor are the things that have been great for this country.
Welcome to Finding Faith, a podcast exploring the history, culture, and beliefs of different denominations in eastern Idaho.
So there's a lot of acceptance. We realize we have different views, and we have to live with that. So we need to be compassionate with each other.
I'm Rhett Nelson, and today, members of the Unitarian Universalist Church tell us what they believe and what being a Unitarian is all about. I've driven past the Unitarian Universalist Church in downtown Idaho Falls many times over the years. I'd read the sign out front, and in passing, I'd think to myself, I wonder what the Unitarian Universalists are all about. When I started thinking about churches to explore for this podcast, this church was certainly among the first that I thought of initially. One day, I noticed a message in my inbox. It was an email newsletter from a Reverend Jackie Ziegler. It's one of those emails you wouldn't really notice, and one I would have completely ignored had I not been researching local denominations. In the email, I noticed right away that Ziegler identified herself as the Reverend of the Unitarian Universalist Church. I reached out to her, and we later met for a conversation.
I specialize in a ministry. It's called interim ministry. And I come into a congregation when they've lost a minister.
Ziegler came to the Idaho Falls ministry in September 2018, when the previous minister, Lynn Strangland Cameron, retired after 13 years. There are currently about 65 members of the church in Idaho Falls, but there are another 50 to 75 people who attend regularly that aren't members. Arthur Cole has been a member of the church the longest, more than 40 years. Now, Arthur Cole is a name that may sound familiar to you. Cole is the president of the Idaho Falls Symphony. He is also committee chairman for the Idaho Falls Civic Center for the Performing Arts. Cole grew up in Switzerland as a member of the Lutheran Church. He came to the U.S. 45 years ago to work for Nestle, and it was during that time that he became a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church.
Growing up in the Lutheran religion at that time as a kid, God was kind of a person in a way.
That's Arthur Cole. I met with him in a coffee shop downtown, so that's why you're hearing background noise. At age 16, Cole joined a youth group with some friends in the Lutheran Church.
When I became a teenager with all my friends in church, we had a lot of discussions about God. And God at that point was no longer a figurehead. It was more, we believed more in a force, the creative force of the universe.
Cole quit attending the Lutheran Church as a result of his beliefs and was not a member of any faith for many years. But years later, he was living in Connecticut, where he lived a mile away from a Unitarian Universalist church, and someone suggested he attend.
And so we went, attended Sunday morning, and we thought it was intriguing in a way. And then joined that church. And wherever we've been since then, we've always joined Unitarian Universalist Church.
What attracted you to the Unitarians?
It was that there wasn't a belief that we had to subscribe to. Your beliefs actually are based on, obviously, what you read or what you hear, but also on your own experience. So basically our beliefs went to being human. Being human was kind of the most important part of what we wanted to be, what our goal was in life, is to treat other people with respect and dignity, whether they belong to our congregation or others.
Cole's idea is pivotal to the Unitarian Universalist.
He once wrote that it would be that by the time, sometime or another, that every young man would be a Unitarian. And he meant it in a very kind way.
But the roots of Unitarianism go back much farther, to the bedrock of Christianity and the Nicene Creed.
We have always been known as heretics. And the word heretics means those who disagree.
Unitarians, in the beginning, fought against the Trinitarian belief that God was a being with three identities, and instead argued that there was only one God.
That's why today we aren't considered Christian per se, because we aren't Trinitarians. But many of our members are followers of Jesus, a man who showed a divine way to live.
Unitarians and Universalists used to be two separate religions, but in 1961, they merged together because the beliefs were so similar. What is the difference between the two?
Unitarian is one God. Universalists, we're often Trinitarians, but believed in a God that was a loving God and never would condemn his creation to hell. And now that's evolved into the 21st century. Is most people believe in the theology of salvation. Maybe aren't even Christian.
The Unitarian Universalist movement first came to Idaho Falls in 1953. At that time, Cole says it was more of a philosophical society than a religious organization.
Nationwide, the trend was more to be on the humanistic side, philosophy-wise. And then it was in the 80s, things started to change.
Cole says the spiritual side became more important to people, and they began to study the works of Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and other famous Unitarians. That's when members of the society started hiring ministers with spiritual training to teach the principles these men had taught.
Even here, there was a big transformation. Once we hired a minister, when our services became a lot more spiritual on Sunday morning, we attracted actually a lot more people.
Now, the spirituality is not the only thing that changed. Cole says Sunday services are a lot more organized than they used to be.
My name is Arthur Cole, and I welcome you to our service this morning.
That's Cole serving as the guest reverend during the service I attended. Cole explained to me that Jackie takes one Sunday a month off, and that just happened to be the one Sunday I attended. Services include readings, hymns, and other musical pieces, and reflections. One of the pivotal parts of their worship service is the lighting of the chalice, where members recite the following in unison.
Let there be light to drive away the darkness. Let there be wisdom to shine on the unknown. Let there be love to heal our aloneness. Let each of us be a light for one another.
Now, parts that are hard to understand. I'll repeat for you what they said. Let there be light to drive away the darkness. Let there be wisdom to shine on the unknown. Let there be love to heal our aloneness. Let each of us be a light for one another. The reflection is the final portion of the meeting, where the minister provides a sermon. Here's a snippet from Cole's reflection the day I attended.
As Unitarian Universalists, we pride ourselves to be an enlightened bunch. Our history, from the founders of this country to the philosophers and theologians, to the activists who shape modern American society, elevates us on this pedestal from which we contemplate contemporary society.
So what do Unitarians actually believe? Ziegler describes the religion as a denomination without a creed. That means the faith does not accept or teach any particular belief about God. As a member, you are free to accept whatever beliefs about deity you choose. There are, however, 7 guiding principles or ethics that each member has to affirm in order to be a member of the church. Those principles are, number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Ziegler explains more on this point.
This is called a free church. I have freedom of the pulpit. I can preach when I want. But the other freedom is it's called freedom of the pew. If they don't like it, they can kick me out. It works both ways. It's called polity. So we have polity in the pew and polity in the pulpit.
Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Unitarians frequently get involved in political causes. Ziegler says members of her congregation were very outspoken on expanding Medicaid in Idaho and played a big role in getting that initiative on the ballot. Though members are often seen as liberal politically, Ziegler says being liberal is not a requirement.
Sometimes Republicans don't feel welcome here, and that would be because they think that we don't accept them because they're Republicans, just Republicans, but the truth is if they're a Republican who follows those ethics, not a problem.
Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And number 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. This focus on principles, rather than subscribing to a specific belief about God, is an appealing idea for a lot of people, and tends to attract those who are former members of other religions.
Most people who come to this denomination are come-outers, meaning people who come from other religions, because for whatever reason it's not working for them. And they oftentimes find themselves here because we're accepting of people.
As a result, the church has a wide variety of beliefs represented among the congregation. Ziegler says there are some members who are Buddhist inclined, and others who are Muslim inclined. Some people are Christian, and some are atheist or even agnostic.
It runs the gamut of their personal understanding of God, if they define a God, and the nature of reality.
My experience with religion is that every member shares common beliefs and values. So hearing Ziegler tell me about differing beliefs among church members was a new idea. And it made me wonder how there is any unity in the faith, or whether that's even important.
With all those differing beliefs, though, how do you appeal to everyone?
You don't every Sunday. That's the dilemma of a Unitarian minister.
Ziegler says it's the 7 principles that unify them, and her role as minister is to help each member of the congregation find a path that works for them. She does that by drawing inspiration from a variety of different sources in her sermons. Sometimes that could mean reading a verse from the Bible, but it could also mean reading from the Quran or the works of scholars and philosophers. In other words, Ziegler helps her congregation find spiritual meaning from just about any source.
There are times when people will disagree with you, and my role is to accept that and to talk about it with them. So there's a lot of acceptance. We realize we have different views, and we have to live with that, and we need to be compassionate with each other.
Unity also comes from being part of an association. Each Unitarian congregation belongs to the Unitarian Universalist Association of America. The leader of the association is called a president and is voted in by church members. The president serves for a period of 6 years. Church members selected their first female president in 2016. Her name is Susan Frederick Gray. Now, I didn't tell anyone who I was when I attended Sunday services at the Unitarian Universalist Church. There were a lot of things about the experience that were new and different to me. But from the moment I walked in the door, people were warm and gracious. There was a lady who greeted me and asked if this was my first time attending. She wanted to make sure I felt comfortable being there. She invited me to write my name on a name tag so that others could identify me. But she assured me that if I didn't want to, it was okay. At one point during services, Cole invited everyone to shake hands with the people sitting next to them. I was trying to keep a low profile, but I was greeted warmly by those in attendance.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you. Good morning. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Thank you.
You didn't get a name tag, so I can't say your name.
I didn't. Yeah, my name's Rhett.
What?
Rhett.
Rhett. As in Rhett Butler from
That's right. That's right.
This behavior was consistent among all Unitarian members I interacted with. The members I've spoken with have varying beliefs about God, but their beliefs about that seemed unimportant to them. When I asked Arthur Cole about his beliefs, he told me God was more of a creative force than a tangible being, and didn't necessarily believe in an afterlife. He spent more time talking about the way he lives his life and how he finds purpose and meaning. And for him, meaning and purpose comes from being with people and doing things for them.
I'm just enjoying being with other people who have the same spirituality that I have. To me, that's life. I enjoy it.
Amanda Logan, another member of the congregation in her 30s, said the golden rule and helping others were the two most important things in her life. She believes in God, but doesn't really think about an afterlife. But it doesn't matter to her whether there is or isn't an afterlife. What does matter is the impact her actions have on others.
When you speed, you could cause an accident for someone, or when you steal, it's a profit loss for someone's company. So it's like your actions have consequences, even if it's not a consequence that you will go to hell. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, and it's just for your own well-being. Like I don't feel good if I do something wrong.
Knowing how much they value treating others with respect, it got me wondering whether Logan felt she felt respected by others in the community. She grew up in Idaho Falls and remembers feeling very conscious that she was in the religious minority. After high school, she moved to Washington, D.C. and lived there until October 2018. And though she is still in the religious minority, she says Idaho Falls is a very welcoming place to be. And so is the Unitarian Universalist church she attends.
It's really welcoming. I stumbled into it. When I found it, I realized, wait, I am these things. It just lined up with who I was. It's not well known. Like I lived in Idaho Falls my whole life and never knew there was a UU church here until I found it in DC. So it's a smaller faith. But it's a very welcoming faith.
Ziegler has only been with the congregation for a short time, but so far, people have accepted her in her role as interim minister. She is expected to be with the congregation for up to 2 years as the church continues to search for a permanent minister. The response to the church over the years has been positive overall, but in some circles, Ziegler says there are still hearts to win over.
People have joined the church because they've seen our members out on the bridgeways and things like that. As I said, some people get hate mail. It's a mixed bag. Mostly the other liberal congregations receive us well. The more conservative ones have a very difficult time.
She describes the negative attitude towards the church and its members as respectful disdain. But challenges aside, she says anyone is welcome to attend services and invites any and all who are interested to learn more.
We've often been referred to as a secular religion in the sense that what we honor are the things that have been great for this country. People are welcome in our denomination because of love and respect. Welcome regardless of how they believe about the divine nature of the divine and God and how they define that. It really is an important role for us. We love and want you to be able to find for yourself what's true, what works for you, and we'll support you in that.
Services begin at 10:30 a.m. Sunday, inside the church at 555 E Street. You can visit idahofallsuu.org to learn more. I'm Rhett Nelson, and this is Finding Faith.